So look, our next investor pitch presentation is Antilles Gold, and that is Brian Johnson, the Executive Chairman. He'll be presenting to you on a very exciting project all the way in Cuba.
You want to hear some challenges? Listen to me for 15 minutes. So we've been in Cuba since early 2020, 3 years effectively. We developed a joint venture with the government's mining company, Minera. The joint venture at the moment has 2 prospective near-term gold mines under development and possibly a third. So I'll just go to that, if I can drive this thing. Not working. There we go. Come on. Firstly, maybe I'll explain why we're actually investing in Cuba. The country's mineral rich, for those that know. It's very underexplored and it has very low operating costs. Salary levels are low with very competent people. Mineral royalties are pretty standard at around 3%. The government there is encouraging investment, foreign investment in not only the mining sector but in tourism, agriculture and so on. The country is opening up and liberalising. The mining and environmental regulations are realistic, and our partnership with Minera effectively de-risks the permitting. And what we've found is that permitting actually is accelerated as a consequence of that partnership. There are investment incentives. There's a waiving of income tax for about 8 years, possibly longer with representation, and import duties are also waived. Foreign shareholders, us in the circumstance, nominate all senior management to the joint venture and for the projects and also for exploration. When I negotiated the joint venture agreement, I insisted on a foreign bank account being established for collecting all loans and then dispersing them though to suppliers and creditors, foreign, during the construction phase. And also proceeds from product sales goes into that same proceeds account and then is dispersed to repay loans. The only money going into Cuba is in fact to pay local expenses. Even dividends has to come out of that foreign bank account, which is either in Spain or Canada. We started with a 51% joint venture in favour of the Cubans, which is their normal policy. I was able to convince the minister to turn that into a 50-50 JV because of pure optics, even though the voting was equal in shareholders' meetings and board meetings. The 49-51 didn't stack up for the market. Since then, I might just add that currently we are renegotiating the terms of that joint venture agreement, not completed yet, but that will allow the entry of third parties, major investors to come into the joint venture directly, which will cause, if it happened, a dilution to the government company and to us. And this would be the first time in Cuban mining history anyway, that they've accepted a minority position. There are 3 majors operating in Cuba at the moment. Sherritt, you'd all know, in the nickel sector. Trafigura have a major base metals mine and they're expanding that into copper. And local company Melbana are very active in the oil and gas sector. Okay, we have 2 near-term projects. One is a very small project. It will only produce about 30,000 ounces of gold equivalent per year. And we're only planning that at this stage for 4 years because the permit for mining the oxide ore on this particular project is limited to a depth of 100 metres. We've got an MRE down to 150 metres, and that concession is being replaced at the moment by a mining licence, and that will not have a depth limitation, so we'll be able to probably increase the MRE that we've got and take that mine down to a greater depth. The second mine development is La Demahagua. It's an open pit mine which will develop 2 concentrates. One would be a gold arsenopyrite concentrate, We're finding that now difficult to sell into a shrinking market. And also a concentrate, which would be gold, silver, antimony concentrate, which is very easy to sell. What's happened with that project I'll talk about in a moment, but we're now going to put in a roaster to oxidise that ore and a CIL plant to produce a doré. There's a possibility of a third mine. The government have indicated to me that they'd give us another property, which is a gold property, quartz vein system. Has the potential with non-JORC resources, not yet reviewed, not yet certified or confirmed, I guess, produce about 50 to 70,000 ounces of gold in a doré. Government have indicated if we start this first small mine and demonstrate that we can do more than explore, they will give us a second project, gold project, and that will probably become second development. So you go for a very small project, something a little bit larger, and then a third, and the potential of actually developing 3 projects with commissioning dates about a year apart from 2025, 6 and then 7. I won't dwell on this, but La Demahagua mine's on the left-hand bottom corner. It's on an island. Neva Sabana is in the middle, and Asinto, it's in a blue symbol there, is the project we're looking at. So the Neva Sabana mine is the small one. It's had the benefit of 24,000 metres of historic drilling. We drilled another 12,000 metres there last year, and we've established the mineral resource estimate. The maiden, that goes down to 150 metres, but the mine is restricted at the moment because of the permitting, as I've talked about, to 100 metres. We're proposing only a small mine, 500,000 tonne of ore per year, 3.5 to 1 waste to ore ratio. Targeted production is about 30,000 ounces equivalent per year, just for those first 4 years that I've spoken about, to that mining depth of 100 metres. The estimated sale price of the concentrates, gold and copper, is about 90 million Australian a year, so it's quite small. Of that, about 50% will finish up as a profit. Again, small, but at least it gives the joint venture initial cash flow and it stops us having to contribute. The MRE I won't dwell on at all, but there's quite a lot of copper in the bottom line there, inferred. There's 35 million pounds of copper that we haven't looked at, obviously, in the resources that we've applied to the first mine. But I think with the elimination of that, and I might add, we have basically a gold zone at the top, very rich cap. I think it's going into the mine at about 3 grams. Then a copper gold zone. In the copper zone, actually, it looks as though, based on 10 drill holes we've done into a underlying porphyry, that it actually the copper transitions down and continues into that LPLR porphyry. So it's got the potential of this small mine being a starter to something that might be bigger in the future. Why is this happening? So it's a small mine, 25 million total development cost, 3 million of equity. 1.5 was the cost of buying this property from Geominera. 1.5 million we contributed as capital, which has been spent on pre-development costs. The mine will cost about 22 million, including interest during construction. And scoping study will be finished next month and very soon after the DFS, because virtually we have all the costs. The only thing that's outstanding will be finalising the offtake agreements. Chinese group will, I think that the turnkey offer is something like 15 or 16 million out of that 22 million cost as a firm single contract. And the rest of it's all been priced. So we pretty well know where we're going with this little mine. At a lower mining depth, as I've said, and additional drilling, that probably will continue for a longer period. Am I running out of time? No, I am. The La Demahagua mine, I won't spend too much time on it, but there's a 905,000 ounce gold equivalent for the open pit. It's going to produce initially, the first stage of the mine is a 50,000 tonnes per year of a gold arsenopyrite, concentrate 32 grams and 27% arsenic, very high, and 5,500 tonne of a gold silver antimony with about 46% stibnite. Now it's been expanded, as I mentioned, to include a roaster, two-stage fluidised bed roaster, which will produce a gold doré. Why isn't this going? Chinese group is currently doing the test work that's necessary. They are specialists in roasters and will have their test results and their turnkey offer mid-year. The estimated project development cost has gone up from 100 million to 50 million with this additional roaster. We've only contributed 27 million between us and the Geominera to the joint venture, and we're now looking to introduce a major to come into that joint venture as a third shareholder, and obviously come in at a price that fairly represents value rather than the par value of our shares. So the potential of the joint venture is to, and obviously we get the benefits from it, quite substantial cash flow. We should be able to predict that by mid-year from the first two projects with scoping studies completed. Potential surplus from the third mine that I spoke about, and underground operations that could continue at La Demahacua. And the real prize for the incoming potential, how much time I've got, a couple of minutes? The real prize for the incoming participants is a series of copper porphyry properties that we control. Why isn't this going? There we go. Firstly, there's the El Pilar porphyry system. At the moment, it consists of three identified intrusives, El Pilar, Gaspar and Camilo. They were picked up in ground magnetics that we did last year. They sit within the same concession as the Nueva Sabana mine sitting over the top. So the oxide is being mined with the small mine. And then we think that the transition based on 10 holes that we've done to date only into that porphyry system, we'll see this project expanded in the future. And we've got an adjacent 17,000 hectares concession sitting again in an exploration agreement, but all of these copper properties are in the process of being bundled into the joint venture agreement. So any participant coming in gets the benefit of the 2 or 3 near-term projects and the potential of the exploration of a series of porphyry properties in the future. Where are we? So the 10 holes that we've drilled into the porphyry at El Pilar have only been fairly shallow, down to about 300 metres down hole, partly because of the restriction of the drilling equipment that's available in Cuba at the moment. We'll start drilling again when about mid-year, September, once this exploitation mining licence is issued to us, which I think will happen in about 2 to 3 months. We've had there we go. Had a few interesting holes. The first one, it was 134 metres at 1.23% copper from under the oxide zone at 49 metres. And the other issues there, I've got odd readings there, are XRF, but they've been replaced since. I developed this slide and the assays replicated the XRF readings quite accurately, actually. So in addition to basically 5 porphyry intrusives that have been identified in this El Pilar region in central, we have done 3 prospecting programs in the southeast, or our exploration director has conducted those. And from that, that's in what's known as the Sierra Maestra copper belt. 2 of those, La Cristina and Vega Grande, concessions will finish up in the joint venture, as I said. Buey Cabon, which is only small, we've since advised, in fact yesterday advised the government we'll drop that. But it's a very interesting copper belt, and Chris Granger, who's our technical director, very experienced explorationist based in Colombia with some major discoveries under his belt. He's very excited about the copper prospects generally, but La Cristina in particular. I won't dwell on management because we don't have time, but I'm not going to be able to show it to you anyway for some reason or other. Forget the directors. They don't count. A couple of really important people. Dr. G here is a Chinese Canadian, huge experience in refractory gold deposits, both in China and in Eastern Europe and so forth. Tremendous metallurgist. Chris Granger is a West Australian. He's been in Latin America for over 25 years, resident in Colombia, loves the geology of Cuba and likes our properties. He's selected the porphyry coppers projects out of 30 that were offered to us by the government. So, last slide. Have I got time for this?
Very quickly.
Okay, well, it'll be very quickly. I've already been through it anyway. Small project first, potentially a second medium-sized project, and then third onto what is really our flagship. It's still not a big project, but the three of them combined will generate some very significant surplus cash flow. I can't quote it, but I have worked out what it ought to be. The underground mining could extend the Lardemahagua mine for another 9 years. The real upside for us is in these potential copper properties, and we are negotiating with several groups now to come into the project. So, and even if we're diluted, our return on our investment would be exceptional. Thank you.